Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a segment of Creating Awareness. I am Melinda, and I am a survivor. So, this week, we are going to be talking about hide and seek. I know you remember the game hide and seek growing up when someone would be selected to count while everyone else hid. And so they sit there at the tree or at a wall or somewhere and they count one Mississippi, two Mississippi, three Mississippi, and then they spurt off looking to find their target. They find their target, they might tag them, and of course we run gleefully, running away from them because we don't want to get caught. And then eventually they catch us. If we don't tag the tree or wall before they do, then it's our time to become the seeker. So this week, we're talking about the hide and seekers. So, my definition for hide and seek is when we discover that we are dating someone who is hiding not just their true identity, but also their unhealthy intentions toward us. I'm going to start with a scripture. This is coming from Psalms 27, verses 1 and 2 from the KJV. The Lord is my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. I love this scripture because it teaches me strength and trust and faith in God when I encounter adversity, especially adversity with someone that I was dating that I thought was a potential mate for me. So, what is hide and seek? Hide and seek is when we realize we are dating their representative. We realize that they are being someone that they're pretending to be and not who they truly are. And unfortunately, by the time we realize this person is a fake, many times we have already embodied our emotions, our false hope, and love for their false identity. Each time we seek out their authenticity or just try to get to know them, we might notice how they deflect. Maybe they turn the question around back onto us. They disengage. They might shut down and avoid to answer the question at all. Or, that famous one, you're crazy for asking them truths about themselves that they aren't willing to share. They might even reject us earlier on, and we might not pick it up right away. They will outright reject us by saying, you know what, I thought this might work out, but you're not really the one for me. And why are they doing this rejection earlier on in the beginning? Because they want to see if we will try to seek their approval or validation of us. And we don't need their approval. We don't need their validation. So if they reject you early on, that is not our opportunity to say, no, pick me, pick me. That's our opportunity to say, blessing in disguise, goodbye. Thank you. Yes, bye. And practice walking away from those circumstances if you found yourself in situations where you are realizing that I'm seeking their approval after they reject me. If they rejected you, it's because they don't really see you in their future. And if you're willing to play along with the rejection, they'll just continue to play this game of rejection until it's eventually eradicated, because there's no coming together after someone rejects me. They might even say, you know what, you're doing too much. Doing too much by trying to get to know you or ask questions or learn about you, that's a red flag. We notice also that they put up walls. And we all, especially if you're coming out of a traumatic relationship prior, we all tend to put up walls or create boundaries. But you'll notice this person is always putting up walls. They have boundaries on everything. They have boundaries on where they are. They have boundaries on where they're going. They have boundaries on their family life. They have boundaries on their work life. Like, there's no way in with this person unless they decide to give you a sliver of the details of their life. So these are things that we want to pay attention to and not push it behind us, in the back of our mind, like, okay, well, maybe they're having a bad day. No, they are intentionally rejecting us. And this is where you will see their emotional immaturity, that they aren't emotionally mature enough to answer these questions straightforwardly because they're afraid of how you may view them, how you may react, how you may eventually see their authentic selves. But you'll notice they want to learn everything about us. They want to learn everything about us, but they don't want to share too many details about themselves. They don't want you asking them questions about themselves. And I remember I was dating someone and I asked them a very simple question. I said, "Hey, what was your favorite Christmas?" And I went into telling them about my favorite Christmas. When I was around 8 or 9 years old, my mom did this Goodwill Christmas, and she went to the Goodwill and she got bags and bags of toys, clothes, everything. And when we woke up the next morning for Christmas Day, the tree was it had so many items up under it. And that was my favorite Christmas. Like, we had so much stuff, not knowing that it came from the Goodwill at that time, not knowing the financial situation, why my mother went about it that way, but it was my very fondest memory of Christmas. And I shared that with this person. And I asked them, so tell me, what was your favorite Christmas? And they paused for a moment and then they thought about it. And then they said, every Christmas. Every Christmas? Okay, like which one? Like, what was it about every Christmas that was your favorite? I don't know, just every Christmas was my favorite. Y'all hear that deflection? That no response, just a generalized response. Every Christmas was my favorite Christmas. No details on any particular Christmas. That's because this person was hiding their true identity, or was afraid of maybe judgment, or just really honestly just didn't want to let me in. And those are things you want to notice, you want to pay attention to. So, what are some signs that you might be dating a hide and seeker? The first sign is going to be they consciously make an effort not to share relational experiences because they are looking for our weaknesses so that they can turn our weakness into their strength. And this goes back to my Christmas story. They want to know the details and intimate details of my life, but they didn't want to share intimate details of their life. They just wanted to gain knowledge and wisdom on me. They might ask you, what was your worst relationship like? Or what was your fondest experience? And I've said this before in a video that I call it gaining intel. And that's not in every relationship. In a healthy relationship, when a person asks you a question, it's because they generally want to get to know you and know these things about you. But in an unhealthy relationship, they're gaining intel on you so that they can use it to their strength, so they can use it against you one day. And many times when they're gaining this intel on us in these unhealthy relationships, it's because they want to show up as the superhero in our lives. I had someone I dated, I said I'd never flown before, and they wanted to take me on my first flight. They wanted them to be the person to take me on that first flight so that I can always have this memory with them that they embedded in me, I guess, in a way of trying to keep me close and near to them so that when they did toxic and unhealthy things, I would remember this flight they took me on that I've never been on. And so I should stay with them even though they have all these other negative patterns. And you want to be mindful of those people who want to give you your first experience in something that are using it as a way to keep you indebted to them, even though they really don't want to fulfill their obligation of being their unique, authentic selves because they're afraid if you see them for who they truly are, you won't like them anyway. And in most cases, you probably won't because once you realize who they are, which is technically normally at the end of the relationship you don't like who that person is and you feel betrayed um that they lied to you, that they hid from you while you were being your true authentic self. But don't ever let that persuade you from not being your authentic self again with someone else because the next person might be the right person and they might be their true authentic selves with you. So they want to swoop in and they want to save the day when they have this hero complex, when they're trying to gauge us for the things that we like or didn't like in our past relationship. And be cautious also with the things you share about them that you didn't like, because if it's a really unhealthy, toxic person, they're not only going to use the things that you positively said, they're going to use the negative things you said. They're going to remind you of those things that, well, you did this for your ex. Why don't you do it for me? Or, oh yeah, you slept around on your ex, so I know you're gonna sleep around on me. When you were just sharing intimate detail about your past that maybe you weren't proud of, and you don't want to do those things anymore. They're going to place you in a box, and they're going to keep you in that box. And if you ever feel like you're in a box, be careful with that. Start maybe gauging more questions, or why do I feel like I'm in a box with you, and see how they respond. And if their response is unhealthy or emotionally immature, like they can't really gauge it, or it's your fault you're in a box, it has nothing to do with them, you put yourself in a box because of what you did, um, back up. Space, 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 space. Yes, space from this person who is placing you in this box and trying to make you feel like the issue is you and not them or us, you and this person. Um, and you'll also notice that they put you in a box, but they don't put themselves in a box. They hold you up to a certain stereotypes, or they hold you up to a certain standard that they don't hold themselves up to, and they don't want you to hold them up to that standard. I dated someone who would constantly remind me, oh, Melinda, she's so perfect, Melinda's so perfect. And I'm like, no, I'm not perfect, that's just how you see me. But they didn't want me to see them as being perfect, because obviously they weren't, and neither am I. No one's perfect. So what's another thing you can look for when you might be dating a hide and seeker? A smear campaign. You'll notice that this person may do a smear campaign on their ex. They want you to go along with distrust or distruth of their ex, like, well, he was such a horrible person, and this is what they did, and I don't like them. And if I remember an ex told me, if she wanted to come in here and use the bathroom, you better tell her no. And I said, what? First of all, I don't know her. She hasn't done anything to me. And if she needs to use the bathroom and she's your ex and you all have a child together and your child is in my home, I'm not going to tell her she can't come in here and use the bathroom. Well, no, I said, this is him. I said, if she needs to come in here, you tell her no. No, you don't control me like that. That's not your position to tell me what I can and cannot do. I don't know this woman. So be mindful if they're trying to turn you against their ex and you don't even know their ex, you don't know anything about their ex, but they're starting this smear campaign early on of how horrible a person that ex was. And I'll even much go so far as to say, in many cases, whatever they're saying about their ex is what they're saying they've done to their ex. So be mindful of that. If they say my ex pushed me, they probably pushed their ex. They're reversing the role and playing the victim. So, another thing that we want to look out for, this is like our third thing that we want to look out when we're dating a hide and seeker. They enlist their family and friends to authenticate their illusion of themselves to us. So they're going to get, maybe their sister, maybe their brother, maybe a cousin, maybe a friend they'll call them up sometimes while you're on the phone with them. And all of a sudden you'll notice that this person just goes into, oh, he's so amazing. Oh, he's just so awesome. He does so much for all of us. He gives and gives. He's just the greatest person. You're so lucky to be with him. And you're like, how did I get here? I thought I thought we were just calling to check on this person and they just go into this song of how awesome of a person you are. Didn't even ask me how am I, but they went into, this, it almost seems orchestrated, right? They automatically go into this song and dance of how this person is so amazing and he's such a good guy or she's such a good girl and does no wrong and oh my god, and you're like, what? Huh? Okay. Okay. And you're like, what just happened here? What just happened here? So, if you find yourself in that situation, and not saying that every time someone goes and sing praises on your mate or potential mate that they're lying, because that's not always the case. They could really be an awesome person, but it is a technique that manipulators use to get you enthralled with the illusion of who they are by having their family or friends validate their their identity, even though you're seeing maybe other red flags within this person, or you're not even seeing this identity that their family and friend is sharing. So, those are things we want to pay attention to. So, I think that was our last one for now. So, how do we protect ourselves from hide and seekers? I would definitely tell you to keep asking them questions because the more questions you ask, the more uncomfortable they're going to be, the more red flags you'll start to see because you'll see them projecting, you'll see them deflecting, you'll see them disengaging, you'll see them not wanting to be honest and truthful or share any part of themselves with you. And those to me are red flags that you don't want to, okay, well, maybe they just don't want to talk right now. No, maybe you've asked these questions 2, 3, or 10 times and they still don't have an answer for it. And it's not for us to seek out and find the answer either. I'll say that. We don't have to keep hounding them down. Answer this question. Answer this question. Okay, you don't want to share that part of yourself with me. You don't want to tell me what was your favorite Christmas. I'm good. I think I've learned all I need to learn about you right now. You aren't emotionally ready to be in a relationship where there's trust and transparency. My second, how to protect ourselves. Um, Pay pay attention to the details of their answer. So this goes along with keep asking questions, but pay attention to the detail of their answer. Are they constantly saying the same thing over and over again? Is there which a lot of times there is truth in similarity, but we also can train ourselves to just constantly say the same thing over and over again. So are they constantly saying the same thing over and over again without really admitting or without really sharing too much more information? Again, why are you so guarded with someone that you say you want to be with or that you want to date? Why are you so guarded with me, but you want to learn? I think that's the necessary part. You want to learn everything about me, but you don't want me to learn much about you. My third, how to protect yourself is going to be, talk to a confidant, talk to a close friend or family member. Maybe you think you're tripping and you're trying to, well, should I ask? Or you should ask whatever you are comfortable with asking. Never feel like you can't ask something, because if you go into a relationship that you can't ask questions, then you'll never really learn who this person is, and you're already, not only are they putting you in a box, you're putting yourself in a box because you aren't seeking out the truth from this relationship or this person. And then they can go back and say, well, you never asked me about that. So be mindful of that. You should feel comfortable when we are trying to vet our mate and be with someone. We should be comfortable with asking them anything, and we should be careful what we ask. And we don't want to ask too many outlandish, crazy questions, but I don't know. Maybe you do. Are you a sociopath? Let me know now. I don't want to find out later. So, our last how to protect yourself from hide and seekers is going to be follow your intuition, follow your discernment. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. It's not in your head, you're not making it up. Something about this person isn't right. Talk to God about it. Is this the person I should be with? Is this the person, you want me to be with? Follow your intuition and discernment. I am a huge, huge believer in following that intuition because I'll say 99.9% of the time, it's always right. If you want to learn more about these techniques of manipulation and abuse awareness, get a copy of my book, My Song, A Healing Journey, where I detail these different techniques that manipulators and abusers use throughout my experience and story. Um, Make sure you like me on all of my social media. Subscribe to my channel so you'll know when I have another video coming out. Like and share. Share me. Yes, I'm for everybody. Share me. And if no one told you that they love you today, I love you.